I'm a self-promoter. I'm a very good-looking guy. I'm an idol to some. I'm a brainless idiot. I'm your daddy. I'm a psychopath. I'm unstable. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. I'm an animal. I'm a tyrant. I'm a physical peon. I'm a man. I'm incompetent with women. I'm one of the great Casanovas of all time. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a coward. I'm a nut job.
Welcome to Termine Crashes Out, an NBA podcast with Justin Termine, brought to you by DCLA. And now it's time for Termine to crash out.
All right, we crash out as the Nuggets season crashes out. It is all over, 110-98. Congratulations to all the Minnesota Timberwolves that are joining here today, all the Timberwolves fans. And my apologies, my condolences to the Nugget fans, the Jokic fans. I'm one of those guys. A rough couple of hours for myself. One of the reasons is, as you guys know, you can see behind me Boston Garden on the screen. I live right outside the Boston Garden. I will be attending a Game 7, so I guess I'm excited to go to a Game 7 at the Boston Garden, but rough night for my Celtics, then rough night for Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Absolutely embarrassing loss for Denver. No ifs, no ands or buts about it. And I understand that they are without Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson. In most series, you could use that as an excuse. In past years when Denver was hurt, like they were last year against Oklahoma City, fine, use it as an excuse. But my God, they're supposed to have been a title contender this year. They were the 3 seed. They were supposed to maybe have the deepest team they've ever had with Nikola Jokic. They're not nearly as deep as Minnesota. And they were supposed to have the best player in the world and one of the best playoff risers in Jamal Murray. And none of that pans out. And on top of that, I mean, Minnesota, think about this. Minnesota is one of the more injured teams I have ever seen, which is saying something because we've seen a lot of injuries over the last couple of years for whatever the reason may be. They started tonight, Julius Randle, who, by the way, didn't even necessarily play great. You told me Julius Randle was going to shoot 6 of 17 and all these guys were going to be out. Then you're saying, all right, Denver is going to advance. So Julius Randle is in the starting lineup. Jaden McDaniels, who turned into Scottie Pippen during this series, and specifically tonight, you have Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and Terrence Shannon. That's your starting 5, okay? And it's not a bad starting 5, but it's nowhere near what Minnesota's normal starting 5 is. Then coming off the bench, you have Naz Reid, Jalen Clark, who never plays, and then Bones Highland. They went with an 8-man rotation. They're without Anthony Edwards, one of the top 10 players in the league. They are without Ayo DeSumo. They were without Dante DiVincenzo. Then Kyle Anderson, of all guys, gets sick early this morning. So you don't even have Kyle Anderson. And before we get to destroying Denver, which, believe me, we'll do plenty of destroying Denver tonight. You'll get plenty of destroying Denver on all the talk shows tomorrow. You'll get destroying Denver, I'm sure, from 4 to 7 Eastern time on Sirius XM NBA Radio with Eddie and myself. Before we get to destroying Denver, though, credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They played harder. They played more desperate. And you had guys that rarely got an opportunity throughout the course of the season that were starring in a closeout game. Again, against a team that was favored to beat them by 5.5 heading into the game tonight, against the guy that I've always considered to be the best player in the world, against a team that has title experience, and Terrence Shannon goes out there. Terrence Shannon, now listen, I called it today on the show. I said one of the dangers of what Denver did in the last game, even though they won, is they allowed Minnesota to get back in it, and they allowed Terrence Shannon to find a groove. Terrence Shannon, who barely plays, closes that game out tonight, scores 24 points in 34 minutes, and his speed and quickness was just something Denver couldn't handle throughout the course of the game. Then you have Rudy Gobert defensively once again on Jokic, and I hope Rudy Gobert's legacy takes a bump. People will be quick to throw cold water on Jokic's legacy. Well, hopefully they're quick to rise the legacy of Rudy Gobert, not just for the game tonight, his play throughout the course of the season and his play throughout the course of this series, where, I mean, he didn't outplay Jokic, but he did his job, which required of him better than Jokic did what was required of Jokic. And again, I didn't need any proving on Rudy Gobert. I know who Rudy Gobert is. I voted for Rudy Gobert 5 times for Defensive Player of the Year. He won it 4 times. And he gave Jokic more trouble in this series than Victor Wembanyama has when they've played each other. Rudy Gobert was spectacular all series. Now, it wasn't particularly special tonight, but still did the job. So Terrence Shannon, fantastic. Mike Conley, some big shots. Rudy Gobert, tremendous defense. And then the guy that deserves all the credit in the world is Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels talked, and there's nothing in sports radio and the public loves more. When a guy talks, he fails to back it up, and then you go all in. You crush him. Jaden McDaniels doesn't perform after he talks, after he takes the extra shot, then Jaden McDaniels gets crushed. Instead, Jaden McDaniels goes out there, by far and away the best player on the floor all night long for Minnesota, backed it up on offense, okay? Backed it up on offense with probably the best offensive game of his career. 32 points on 13 of 25, 10 rebounds. Absolutely fantastic on offense. And then maybe even better defensively. Because, and we'll get to Jamal Murray in a moment, but the job that he did on Jamal Murray, Mr. Playoff Riser, 12 points on 4 of 17. We talk about the reason Jokic struggled in this series. Okay, it's because of Rudy Gobert. The reason that Jamal Murray struggled was just the epic defensive performance from Jaden McDaniels. That guy, maybe you didn't know who he was before. I did. You know that little meme that is on social media? I'm sure you guys seen it. I saw it a couple of times tonight. A couple of years ago, I'm sitting down with Anthony Edwards out at the All-Star game. Eddie and myself, I think it was in Utah. And I said to Anthony Edwards, I said, well, listen, the Phoenix Suns just traded for Kevin Durant. It was like a couple of days after the Suns traded for Kevin Durant at the All-Star break, at the trade deadline. I said, like, what do you think now are your chances in the West? And they go, well, they might have Kevin Durant, but we've got Jaden McDaniels. And you hear that, that meme all over the place, that like quick audio snippet. Well, guess what? The Nuggets might have had Nikola Jokic. They might have had Jamal Murray, but the Timberwolves had Jaden McDaniels. He was fantastic. That's the game of his career. And listen, I love guys who back up their talk. We need more talking in the sport, right? We want more guys creating some friction. So that's on the Timberwolves' perspective. And again, horrible loss for Denver. They talked about it in the Inside the NBA crew did at halftime. I don't know what they're talking about now, but they were talking about the lack of effort. I mean, how do you go into that game and have that effort if you're the Denver Nuggets with your back against the wall and Minnesota's playing harder than you? Minnesota is first on the floor. Minnesota is making all the deflections. Minnesota's getting all the loose balls, the second chance opportunities. At one point in the second half, I think Denver had 2 points off second chance opportunities. That's unacceptable in a closeout game. I mean, how does Jaden McDaniels do all that talking? You hate your opponent. Your season is on the line. And then you basically prove them right with how you played and your effort. And you guys have heard me say this plenty, okay? And we'll get to all of it. And you guys can leave comments. I'll try and get to as many comments as I can. I already see an overflow of them today, so it might be hard to get to. I'm going to bring in some help coming up in the next week or so where I'll have a buddy of mine read me your questions, okay? So everybody, of course, wants to get to the Jokic aspect of this. Like Jaden McDaniels, awesome game. Timberwolves, awesome effort. Terrence, Shannon, Chris Finch, all those guys should get credit. But, you know, the juicy fruit is just like when LeBron loses, just like when Durant loses. You want to go at Jokic. You want to go at a guy who is the best player in the world, or, you know, now he's left himself open to losing that title. It's only fair. I mean, that's what happens. You lose in the first round. You know, he didn't play bad tonight. He did his job tonight. He wasn't great. He wasn't horrible. It was kind of a typical performance. Wasn't good enough. But you leave yourself open. He didn't play good at the start of the series. It was his worst series through the first 4 games of his career. And ultimately, it remains the worst series of his career. So he deserves to get criticized. He can't figure out Rudy Gobert inside. He couldn't hit his outside shots from the outside. He didn't defend well outside of game 5, where it was a layup line to the rim. So by all means, pile on. But I always like to say, what does an all-time great do with his back against the wall? In this case, nothing special. Nothing horrific, but nothing special. So he's going to spend the next couple of days getting crushed. Again, I don't think you necessarily crush him for this game. I think you crush him for the series, and every right to do so. He'll take a hit. My contention that he's somewhere between 10 and 12 all time will take a hit. My contention that he's arguably the greatest offensive player of all time will take a hit. My contention he's the best player in the sport will take a hit. The MVP is going to get announced in the next week or two. He won't be playing. I said that he's the MVP. I voted for him for a 5th time this year in the last 6 years. People will mock me. That's fine. I'm going to criticize him because, well, I care more about my credibility than a guy that, let's be honest, I'm sure he appreciates my support, but he would also not urinate me if I was on fire, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. So you have to criticize him. He's not my kid. He's not my father. He's not my brother. He's not my buddy. I've interviewed him a couple of times. So deserves to take some criticism here. And will take it for a long time. And again, he is not the first player to have a rough series. You have the tragic Johnson series in 1984 with Magic. You have LeBron in 2011. You have Dirk in a first round in 2007. Now, he's a level above Dirk. So the guys that Jokic needs to compare himself to are Magic when he struggled, LeBron when he struggled 2011, Kareem missing the playoffs altogether in 1976. But the difference is, those guys had an opportunity to recover from that because those guys did that at a younger age. LeBron's like 26 in 2011? Had an opportunity to bounce back. Dirk, a little bit younger. Jokic, 31, going to be 32 next year. He doesn't have the runway to try and make up for how bad this was. And he'll pay the price, not just with the criticism, but he won't win another MVP, at least until he next year has to play the season, has to make a deep run in the playoffs, maybe win a championship. Then the following year, maybe he can win an MVP. But his MVP days are over. And they were over anyway in all likelihood, just because Wembanyama is coming and because he's 31, 32. And nobody over 30 has won an MVP in the last 20 years. I think last 20 years, Kobe was the oldest to do it. He was 29. So he's out on a lot of that stuff, and he is going to spend the next couple of weeks getting hammered. Now, he wouldn't have been in that situation, so it's fair to say that he should get criticized. But again, he played well tonight. He wouldn't be in that situation if Jamal Murray didn't play one of the worst games of his entire career. Jamal Murray's got a reputation as a playoff riser. I would say Jamal Murray's been a playoff riser in 2023. It was one of the great runs for a sidekick in NBA history. I thought it was better than anything Kyrie did side by side with LeBron in 2016 when they won the championship. It was an epic sidekick year for Jamal Murray in 2023 since he has not been great in the postseason. Today, he was absolutely abysmal. He did not come through. So Jokic needed some help to get over the hump. Jamal Murray did not provide it. 12 points, 4 of 17. He was by far and away the worst player. Well, I shouldn't say by far and away because Christian Brown exists. But 40 minutes, 4 of 17, just 4 assists, a minus 18. The other worst number, minus 9, was Spencer Jones and Nikola Jokic. Murray was a minus 18 in 40 minutes. He was absolutely brutal. So, and quite the way to cap off the best season of his career. Jamal Murray, to me, has had a bunch of bad regular seasons. but he makes up for it because of what he did in 2023, and he does start to play better once we get to the postseason. This year, he has the best regular season of his entire career, certainly worthy if in a couple of days or weeks, whenever they come out with all NBA teams, his name is on it. But he caps off the best season of his career with the worst performance of his career. If he just gave you a little bit, then Denver wins this because, as you always say, heading into a game in the postseason on the road, the stars need to show up. And again, Jokic didn't give you a 45, 15, and 5 like LeBron Game 6 in Boston, but Jokic gave you a good enough performance to win if you had Jamal Murray, because some of the supporting cast guys stepped up. The best game of the season, the best game of the entire season for Cam Johnson. 27 points, 8 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 10 from 3, 8 rebounds. The one area where it was dicey, missed too many free throws. He went 6 of 9, including a late miss. But if you say that that's what Cam Johnson was going to give you tonight, win for Denver. All these guys are out for Minnesota. Cam Johnson performs like he did. Kudos to him. He was fantastic. Tim Hardaway Jr. was really good. And that's what I said on the show today. I said, give me 2 role players that step up. And the 2 role players that stepped up were Cam Johnson and Tim Hardaway. And I said, if you give me 2, Denver will win. Because you're assuming Jokic is going to be great. You're assuming Jamal Murray is going to be very good. Instead, each of them fell down one peg. Jokic was good. He was not great. And Murray was horrific when you needed him to be good. It was a complete no-show. And the one thing he gets lucky on is all the criticism is going to be focused at Jokic. And again, that's what comes with being the best player in the world, so I fully understand that. But he gets off the hook a little bit because Jamal Murray was so bad, right? And you need your sidekick to step up. And he won a championship because of Jamal Murray a couple of years ago. But Murray was grotesque tonight, 4 of 17. And I can barely keep up with all the comments, but I see one saying, looking back, they should have kept Michael Porter Jr., moved Gordon. Well, I could see the Gordon part because that's going to be an issue here moving forward. But, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. wasn't the reason they lost this series because tonight Cam Johnson was great. Cam Johnson was actually very good last game as well. But we'll get to the chat here coming up in a couple of minutes. I don't want to get sidetracked by that. You guys talk amongst yourself or leave something you want me to go back and read here a little bit later. But the role players, you know, listen, you got 2 of them, Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr. The guy that was brutal in addition to Jamal Murray was Christian Braun. $125 million for Christian Braun. You can rattle off all the bad contracts in the sport. You can tell me the Paul George one is bad, the NBA. Now, those don't look too bad today, but typically those are, and again, they're longer term, so they don't look bad right now. Philly gets eliminated, and then next year, halfway through the season, both of them aren't playing, they're bad. But at least those guys, when they're healthy, then at least when they are healthy, you get something out of them. You get nothing out of Christian Braun. Absolutely nothing. You know, couldn't even dribble the ball tonight. 28 minutes, 3 points, 1 of 4 from the floor. 1 rebound, 0 assists. What did he do? And again, that's maybe something locally where he'll get hammered because nationally it's going to be all about Jokic, a tinge of Jamal Murray, maybe some David Adelman. Christian Braun will fly under the radar. $125 million. That's the effort that he's going to give you. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. So they have some issues, and Denver's run is now officially over. You know, the Gordon just can't be counted on because of health. So it's over. Christian Braun, the contract is horrific. It's immovable. And I think it just kicks in after this year. Peyton Watson is going to be a coveted free agent. From what I'm hearing, I don't even know if Peyton Watson was hurt towards the, like maybe he was good enough to play, taking the slow road so he could be healthy for his contract, which is why you really respect what Austin Reeves did, doing everything he could to get back for the Lakers, even though Austin Reeves is going to be a free agent and potentially could re-injure himself or just play bad, and maybe people would cool on him. But again, Gordon can't be counted on because of health. Christian Braun's contract is horrible. Peyton Watson, is going to be a free agent. Their ownership might not want to keep him around. They still haven't found a quality backup center. And Jokic, Murray, and Gordon are all going to be in their 30s. And on top of that, you have what's going on in Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Thunder are not going anywhere, and they're here to stay. San Antonio is just getting started. The Lakers will eventually figure it around Luka, and this Wolves team, if healthy, doesn't seem like they are going anywhere. One other note, by the way, on the Wolves. Congratulations to Tim Connelly. Constructed the Timberwolves roster, was told, we don't want you because we don't want to spend the money by ownership. Went to Minnesota. Not only does his team have success the last couple of years, he has now eliminated his former employer twice. The group that didn't want to pay him. Congratulations to Tim Connelly. Isn't that everybody's, I don't know, what do you say, king? Isn't that, that's what everybody would like to do. Your company lets you go and you stick it up there, you know what. That's what he's done. Now, unfortunately, moving forward, I think for the basketball fan, it seems like there's a lot of people that are happy, and rightfully so. Whenever there's a superstar that's eliminated, people want to dance on the grave. But I think for the basketball fan, the person that just wants to see quality basketball, you're probably rooting for Denver tonight just to see Jokic against Wembanyama in the next round, and only because Denver is far healthier. San Antonio right now is resting. The Timberwolves are not going to have Anthony Edwards. They're not going to have Dante DiVincenzo. Maybe they don't have Ayo DeSumo, depending on how serious this calf injury is. And then it's also going to be impossible for Minnesota to get jacked back up after this. They did everything they could to win this game. To ask him to do that against a much better team in San Antonio and do it 4 more times in 7 games, it's just not going to happen. So congratulations to the Minnesota Timberwolves. A really amazing effort, okay? And I see some people saying I'm not hammering Jokic. Will somebody please put in the comments there that I was critical of Jokic? So, again, I care more about my credibility than not ripping somebody else. So I'd rip whoever deserves it. Nobody is safe. I do love the guy. I do think he is one of the great players of all time, but he deserves to be criticized. Maybe not as much as Jamal Murray, 4 of 17. Could have given his boy some help. Did not. All right, so that is the Timberwolves and the Nuggets, and I'm not necessarily surprised by it because I even called the Terrence Shannon thing, like I said. So that is Timberwolves Nuggets. Season over for the Nuggets. We'll go more in depth tomorrow with Eddie, 4 to 7 Eastern time on Sirius XM NBA Radio. The second one, and we will get to your Knicks in a second. I tuned out of that game at halftime. The Hawks tuned out in the first 5 minutes. But Celtics-Sixers. Now think about this. They have played 8 Game 7s. 8 Game 7s in the history of their franchises. At least we get 1 Game 7. Not necessarily the Game 7 I wanted to see. I wanted to see a Sixer. I wanted to see a Nuggets-Timberwolves Game 7. But, you add another chapter to this great rivalry. 8 times they've had Game 7s. Boston's won 6 of them. The Sixers have won 2. And now we'll see what happens on Saturday. And I get to be in the building for a Game 7. Ultimately, who can complain about that? Right? As a basketball fan, I understand how lucky I am. I get to be in the arena for a Game 7 between 2 historic organizations. There's nothing better than that. And we'll see what happens on Saturday after the Sixers get the 106-93 win tonight. The last time they met in the Game 7, Jason Tatum dropped 51 points, I believe. Game 7 record. And, that wasn't quite as dominating as the Knicks win over the Hawks. No duh. Still impressive. It was a 9-point game at the half. I was texting with one of my buddies, Ty Butler, who's a Knicks fan. He works in New York. Talk radio there, ESPN radio. It was a 9-point game at the half. And as he said to me, it felt like it was 29. That was well, that was not like an Embiid game. Last time it was an Embiid game, right? Where Joel was fantastic. This one was everybody. This was everybody contributing tonight for Philadelphia. Tyrese, and matter of fact, you would say Embiid didn't even play well. He shot 6 of 18. Boston would have signed up that for the outset. Embiid goes 6 of 18, only scores 19 points. Problem is, Tyrese Maxey, who is the most difficult guy for Boston and maybe everybody in the league. Like CJ McCollum was giving Jalen Brunson issues. You don't think Tyrese Maxey is going to give him issues then if CJ was giving him issues? Tyrese Maxey will be all over Brunson if they win game 7. Paul George, 23 points. Looks rejuvenated. Again, like, I'm not going to gripe here because you guys know I'm a Celtic fan. I said this before I knew the matchup. Paul George shouldn't be allowed in the postseason. That's the baseball rule. You get caught with PEDs, cheating, you're out for the postseason as well. But he's playing. He looked awesome tonight. And it's just not about the 23 points. He was hounding him defensively. He looked great defensively on the perimeter. Kelly Oubre with 14 points. VJ Edgecombe, who hasn't been great this series, gave you 14. That was it wasn't one guy. That was well-rounded. Plus, Philadelphia right now looks deeper, especially with Paul George waking up here a little bit. They look far more athletic. Any team with Maxey is going to look far more athletic. And Boston now is going to be under immense pressure in Game 7 because the Celtics were the favorites at the start of the postseason in the Eastern Conference, right? They were the favorites. And they're about to also blow a 3-1 series lead to a historic rival. Like, you never want to blow a 3-1 lead, but then when it's to a historic rival, it makes it sting more, right? Hey, you blow a 3-1 lead to the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's like, okay, that stinks. You're the Celtics. You blow one to the Lakers. You blow one to Philadelphia, like the Yankees. They lose to the Red Sox 2004. They blow the 3-0 series lead. It's embarrassing to blow a 3-0 series lead, but then to do that to the Red Sox so they can hold it over your head forever, they do not want to do it. Although the Celtics did get them back in 1981 and arguably the greatest conference final, the greatest series of all time ever. Boston was down 3-1, Bird's first championship, Dr. J. Bird, all the games decided by basically 1 point. You got Cedric Maxwell charging into the stands, fighting a fan. So Boston's going to be under immense pressure because, again, favorites in the East had the 3-1 series lead. Jalen Brown, right, supposed to be the MVP candidate. Not that he's supposed to be in Jokic's category, but when you're the best player on a team and you get upset, you're the one taking the heat. All right, so that's on Jalen Brown now. In the past, maybe that would be Tatum. NBA Finals, Tatum doesn't play well against Golden State. Hey, crush Tatum. They lose to Miami, fall behind 3-0. Tatum's supposed to be the best player. Crush Tatum. Now it's Jalen Brown's turn. Jalen Brown's the one that told us what? Jalen Brown told us earlier this season, I'm the best two-way player in the sport. I'm the best two-way player in the sport. All right, you're the two best player in the sport. Then go out and show it. You haven't even been the best player in the series for your own team. That's been Tatum. And Tatum's been back for a month and a half from an Achilles injury. And he's already playing at a higher level than Jalen Brown, who's supposed to be the quote-unquote best two-way player in the sport. No. Game 7, it's not on Tatum to step up and carry the team. It's on you to step up and carry the team. You're the one that get, first team All-NBA, best player in the two-way player in the sport, MVP votes. It's on Jalen Brown in Game 7. How the hell is Jason Tatum the best player on a 2 seed a month and a half after returning? Imagine what this series would look like without Tatum. How bad would it be then? And the pressure is also on Joe Mazzulla. I voted for him for Coach of the Year. I did not, by the way, put Jalen Brown in my top 5 for MVP. I did not put Jalen Brown. I did put him first team All-NBA because I vote by position. But I wasn't as high on Jalen Brown as many people. But I was as high or higher on Joe Mazzulla. I voted for him Coach of the Year, and he deserved it. And you don't count the playoffs. So he still deserves it, even if they lose. He had a great year. I really personally like the guy. You can check out the Instagram story I did on him with an interview I did a couple of years ago. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for him. But bottom line is, you can't lose as the favorite. Think about how many series now Joe Mazzulla is losing as the favorite with home court advantage and supposedly the better team. He lost in 2023 when they had home court against the Heat and fell behind 3-0, and you gave him a little bit of a pass, took over right before the season, first year, okay, fine. Then they win the championship, all right, buys you a little bit of leeway, but then you lose last year to the Knicks as the favorite with home court, You had a couple of 20-point leads there in the second half as well. And now you're on the verge of losing again in the first round as the favorite with home court after you had a 3-1 series lead. So we'll be 4 years into the Joe Mazzulla experience. And in 3 of those years, if they lose game 7, they will have lost in the first round this year as the favorite, in the second round last year as the favorite, and in his first year in the conference finals as the favorite. Resume's starting to get a little bit dicey at that point. And the other thing is, like I said, I personally really like Joe Mazzulla, but you can't lose and continue to give you the funny quotes. Those quotes are funny, especially in a city like Boston with high expectations. Those quotes are funny when you're winning. People are not going to tolerate those funny quirks when you're losing. People will get fed up with it. So the Celtics in game 7 are going to be under immense pressure. And right now they're a mess. Like their bigs can't handle Embiid. They can't handle Drummond with Kata, Vucevic, and Garza. They're a mess. Kata can't go 2 seconds without fouling somebody. The bench, which was a strength all season long, he's not utilizing it, 1. And 2, you're getting nothing from Shireman, Garza, Jokic, Jordan Walsh, although Jordan Walsh defensively has been good. And also now, maybe the biggest concern is keep an eye on Jason Tatum, his health. He was, stretching out the calf there in the second half, went back to the locker room, didn't return. Mazzulla afterwards said he didn't get hurt. But Tatum, after the game, said that his calf was stiff. Now, he said that the stiffness is in the leg opposite of the one he tore the Achilles on, and he expects to play Saturday, and it's not that big of a deal. I disagree. What happens for any athlete, and you just as a runner, like I know from running, I had a calf issue about 6-7 years ago when I was running miles and miles. Yeah, Tatum quit, E-Rush. Okay, E-Rush, go to bed. So I got somebody in the chat saying he quit. He quit. You're going to accuse, I would erase that. That's a really bad look. The guy came back from a torn Achilles. He didn't have to. And you're saying he quit in the middle of the game? How stupid is that, E-Rush? Come on, I like you. We interact on social media. That's ridiculous. But the point is, when you're an athlete and you hurt one side of your body, you overcompensate. So when I hurt my calf, I continued to run through it years ago. All of a sudden, the opposite hamstring is giving me issues. And then it kept me out a significant amount of time. So that's a major concern. And if Tatum is having a calf issue, Jason Tatum should not play. There's no way he should be out there on the floor. Should learn what he went through last year and don't mess with it. Especially because it's starting to look like the Celtics don't have a legitimate shot at the title anyway. So why risk it? I would say Tatum should not be on the floor Saturday for game 7 if there's even a tinge of a calf issue. You have to sit him out. After all, people did say, well, maybe Tatum shouldn't come back. Maybe he's going to hurt the team. Maybe they'll be able to go on a deep run without him. Well, you think they'd be going on a deep run without Jason Tatum? They might be swept in this series. All right, so game 7, I hope that game is on NBC, right? Because give us the history. I remember a couple of years ago, Stephen A. Smith, who I like Stephen A. Smith, but ESPN showing him walking into a game at Madison Square Garden, might have even been a game 7. I don't want to see anything but I want to see, whoever it is, Bob Costas doing the intro and saying, Dr. J, Larry Bird, Wills, Russell, the history, Havlicek stole the ball in 1965. Tatum dropped 51 in 2000, what was it? 24. 23, whatever year it was. I think that was 2023. Boston comes back from 3-1 down, the ghost of the Boston Garden. The next year, you've got Philadelphia bouncing back after they blow the 3-1 series lead, but then they hold on in the Boston Garden. Like, give me that intro from Bob Costas followed by the NBC theme song. We should get the history of that. Give me the Johnny Most call, right? Havlicek stole the ball. Havlicek stole the ball from the 1965 conference finals. Give me that stuff. Game 7 between these two teams, absolutely awesome. And one of the reasons Jason Tatum shouldn't play if he's hurt is because even if you do advance, it looks like you're running into a buzzsaw. And I don't know if you guys are staying with me here on the show. As a Knicks fan, we're waiting for this part of the conversation. How you feeling today? How you feeling today as a Knicks fan? Celtics in trouble. Celtics were the favorite. Tatum's not 100%. And you just laid a historic smackdown on the Hawks. You got to be feeling pretty good. I mean, think about it. 1 week ago, you guys are in full panic mode. Will Mike Brown be fired? Should Mikhail Bridges be benched? Can Karl Anthony Towns show up in a big game? Does Jalen Brunson need to involve his teammates more? You're down 2-1. And now 1 week later, they look like the best team in the NBA. And a team that I said after their last game, I said they look like a team that could beat anybody in the Eastern Conference. Right now, they look like a team that could beat anybody in the NBA. I have never seen a first half like we saw tonight. Really a game, but especially the first half. That first quarter, they jumped out to a 40-15 lead. And the first thing that popped up to me when they were up 40-15 after the first quarter was a series back in 1986 with the Celtics outscoring the Hawks, this very same Hawks in a game 5 in the second round. They outscored them 36-6 in the third quarter of game 5 that year. It was one of the dominating runs of all time. 36-6, the 1986 Celtics against the Hawks in the postseason. The Knicks took that to another level. Now, when I reference like the great quarters of all time in the postseason, I will not reference, and I've always referenced that one. 1986, Game 5, 36-6, Celtics over the Hawks. Now I will reference 2026, first quarter, second quarter, take your pick, the Knicks over the Hawks. So they outscored them 40-15 in the first quarter. Then they turned it up in the second quarter and made it even uglier. 43-21. It was 83-36 at the half. 83-36 before they went on to win by 51 points. 140-89 in one of the more embarrassing. Think about it. The Nuggets should be embarrassed losing to the Timberwolves by all, with all those guys out. And they didn't even have the most embarrassing performance of the night. Atlanta played one of the worst games you will ever see in any situation, especially in a closeout game in front of your home floor, in front of your home fans. That was an embarrassment. That was an embarrassment for Atlanta. And the only good thing about it is it allowed me to shut it off and turn my attention to Celtics-Sixers. I mean, first half, OG Anunoby had 26 points, 10 of 12 from the floor, 4 of 6 from 3, 7 rebounds, 4 steals. That was in the first half alone. 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 steals in the first half alone. Towns, 10 points, first half, despite being 0 of 2 from the field, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Brunson, first half, 13 points, 7 assists. And then the most important thing by far, Mikhail Bridges, what Mikhail Bridges did in the first half. Mikhail Bridges in the first half had 16 points and 7 of 9 from the floor. And the reason I say the most important development was Mikhail Bridges doing that and getting involved early is that gave him some confidence. Mikhail Bridges has been completely lost. That half gave him confidence moving forward because they're going to need him moving forward. All right, you get by Atlanta without Mikhail Bridges, fine. You're going to need him against either Philadelphia or Boston to chase around Brown, Tatum, Maxey, Edgecombe, Paul George. You're going to need him for that. You're going to need him in the conference finals. You need him in the NBA finals. And he looked like he was completely lost leading into this game. Mike Brown kind of casted him to the side. He got hot early. You got him some easy shots. Now he's got the confidence, and that's a big key for the Knicks. It was more than just getting the win. It was how you did it and, getting these guys to feel good about themselves. And I've been saying it over the last couple of days as well. He's the best third option in the sport right now. It isn't Chet and SGA, or Chet behind SGA and like Jalen Williams when he's healthy. It's not Aaron Gordon if he's healthy behind Jokic and Jamal Murray. It's not, Steph Castle behind Wembanyama and Fox. It's Anunoby. This guy is playing the best basketball of his career. He's been one of the best players in the entire postseason. He's dominating on offense. He's elite on defense. Did a great job this series on Jalen Johnson, who was completely taken out of things. If he plays like this, second round, third round, NBA Finals, the Knicks are going to be unbeatable. Whether it's Paul George or Derek White next round, like is the third guy, they're not even close to this guy right now. He is at an elite level. He's the key to your championship. It's how well does if Anunoby keeps playing like this, how are you going to beat the Knicks? And I really think this series was good for them. They got pushed from the start. That helped them focus. It forced them to involve Towns more on offense. They had to, like, if you were making these adjustments against a better team than Atlanta, against Philadelphia or Boston next round, against somebody in the conference finals, you might not win. But they got an opportunity to be pushed, make an adjustment against an inferior team, and really, that adjustment has turned the season around. So credit to Mike Brown for that. So this worked out perfectly for them. Now they look like the best team in the East, if not the entire league. And it worked out much better for them than if they had cruised to a 4-0, 4-1 series victory. They're feeling good about themselves. No, because now they've changed their style, working through Towns. Now they're in playoff mode. They got pushed. They got hit in the face. All that stuff's important. Again, Boston, Philadelphia are both better than Atlanta. But New York still looks like the best team, especially with the way Anunoby is playing. And just real quick on, that little scuffle, Dyson Daniels and Mitchell Robinson, then I'll answer some of your questions if I can even get through these. And this is why I'm going to bring in some help to help me out. Somebody that can kind of take these comments and then read them to me so I don't have to get confused trying to read them as I'm talking and go through all this stuff. But that was, you got to expect that you're going to get a hard foul or a dirty foul when you're losing by 50 before it's even halftime. So I wasn't surprised by it, but that was really dangerous. And I was surprised by how long it took Richard Jefferson or somebody in the booth to point out that it was very similar to the Kelly Olynyk and Kevin Love play where he tried to pull it, where he did pull his shoulder out, Kelly Olynyk. And Dyson Daniels did kind of the same thing. And you're right, I should have Shane Conley do it. I don't want to pay Shane, though, to read the comments, if you're looking at the comments now. So that was very dangerous. And I can understand why Mitchell Robinson was pissed off. All right, so like Langston is on here. Now I'll read some comments and I'll answer them, hopefully. But Langston is on here, and you guys know Langston who calls in. I'm surprised, Langston, that you just wrote a sentence there. You spell everything 100% correctly. All right, so now just stop leaving comments for a second because it always goes back to the end when I'm trying to read these. So let me read some of these contents. Best team in the league. All right, so the best team in the league, Jerry says that. So he's talking about the Knicks. Yeah, no, the Knicks are the best team in the East. Oklahoma City and San Antonio are both better than New York. Clearly, Jerry. What I'm saying is they're capable of beating Oklahoma City and San Antonio if they play like this. That's it. Percentage, Dylan says, percentage that Sixers advance. I would say the Sixers, I don't even know. Do we have the odds up yet? Let me check the odds here for that game. Boston is 8.5-point favorites. I would not make it that large, especially with the Tatum news. That game is on NBC. Yes, we get that intro, although I'm going to be at the game, so maybe I'm going to have to tape it. So we will get that historic. Havlicek stole the ball. Havlicek stole the ball and all that stuff. Highlights from the past. Great. I'm so glad that game's on NBC. Boston, I'll answer the question this way, Dylan. Boston should not be an 8.5-point favorite, especially with the Tatum news. And if we get more on that, then I expect that number to move significantly. Yes, another good point here by Harsh Santiago. Mike Brown finally figured out not to have Brunson and Cat off the floor at the same time. He's been doing a little bit more of that. Let's see. blah, blah, blah. We look through these comments. All right, and then they keep going back down to the bottom because you guys keep commenting. Let's see. They should have told Jamal they were playing the Lakers tonight. That's very funny from K Pant Beats. That's more admirable to stay with. I lost that one because you guys keep moving the chat here. So this is why I'm going to bring in the help. The jokers who we thought we were, that's coming from Langston, so that doesn't surprise you. Jamal crash, yeah, Jamal was not great. And again, you kill Jokic, but you also have to look at it with context. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was average. And Jamal Murray was god awful. But, Jamal Murray kind of just like with, I'm sure Jordan has a bad game. Pippen has a bad game. You're going to crush Jordan. You're not so much going to get on Scottie Pippen. Let's see. Luka versus Suns game 7 vibes. Absolutely. So that's just from somebody randomly named user. What about Dallas beating Phoenix 4 years ago? Yes, in game 7. Wiped them off the floor. Very reminiscent about that. I guess I can throw that in the face of Eddie. We got somebody else saying, relax, they beat the Hawks. Yes, relax, they beat the Hawks. But they beat them by 51, okay? When they beat them by 51, then I think they figured something out. I think you got to give them credit for that. All right? Let's see. What else do we have here? Langston says he's a better defender than Jokic. Nice job, Langston. Were the Spurs playing chess so Stan says, were the Spurs playing chess versus Denver in the final game of the regular season? Yeah, in retrospect, I guess you can now say that, right? Because it's not going to matter. And I was killing. I killed San Antonio. I killed Wemby for sitting that game out. All right, so this will get a lot easier once we bring in some people to help me read all this stuff, and you'll get your questions answered a little bit better. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. We do at least get one game 7. That's the really good news. That'll be fun. Bummer that Tatum got hurt. Again, I don't think he should play if there's any stiffness in the calf. The 3 games we have tomorrow night, Detroit, Orlando. I think everybody's rooting for Detroit, so we get a game 7 outside of the Orlando area. You want a game 7 there. Rooting for Toronto, want a game 7 against Cleveland. Although, Scotty Barnes, is he hurt? Brandon Ingram, is he hurt? And then Lakers, Houston. And hey, as I said on the show today, only thing that gets Mr. Jokic off the hook is if the king, LeBron James, somehow blows a 3-0 series lead. And I'll say this very quickly in case you missed the show earlier today. Age of 41. It's been I don't like LeBron's narcissistic attitude, the comments to the media, all that stuff. And I'm sure I'm alienating some LeBron fans that are on this, but I'm going to always be honest. I'm not a big LeBron fan, not for the on-court stuff. It's just the narcissistic approach, okay? And then also the bouncing from team to team. I don't like it. Whatever. It's one of the reasons why I crush Jokic, but you also got to give him credit for staying with a team where the supporting cast isn't fantastic. He's not jumping around playing with all-time great after all-time great. But I haven't crushed LeBron on the floor for quite some time. And at the age of 41, you can't get on his case for just about anything at this point. The only thing you could get on his case for is if he built in this series a 3-0 lead and he somehow blows it. And even then, I'm not so much sure you get on LeBron's case for that. But what you do say is now he has to deal with that stigma moving forward, right? It's what's the first thing you think of when you see a 3-0 blown lead in all of sports? Well, you think of the Yankees. And then when you think of the Yankees, who do you think of? You think of Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. Okay, so if the Lakers blow a 3-0 series lead, what are you going to think of? You're going to think of the Lakers brand, just like you think of the Yankees brand. You're going to think of LeBron James, just like you think of Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. And he'll have to deal with that. So that is not a stigma that he wants. Oh boy, am I rooting for a Rockets comeback. But I don't think it's going to happen because he is going to play all out in game 6, knowing what is at stake. So anyway, appreciate all that. Yes, thank you for listening to the show. I could tell because somebody asked about Zuzu, my dog. She hurt her paw playing tennis. I play tennis with my buddy William J. O'Connell all the time. hurt her paw. She's with her grandparents at the vets. I'm going to go back and pick her up this weekend after she gets some treatment. All right. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. The audience keeps getting bigger. I appreciate it. Please, pass the word along. We get more people involved here. Once we get past the season, I'm going to be doing some trivia, some giveaways. We'll find other ways to get you interacting here as well. So appreciate everybody stopping by. Go out and show some support for Deepak, DCLA, where if you're looking for a tailored suit, tell them I sent you. And again, that's DCLA. He's located in Los Angeles, but he works the entire country. Bydcla.com, bydcla.com. All right, looking forward to tomorrow. I'm sure the lead is going to be the Denver Nuggets losing to a very shorthanded Minnesota Timberwolves team, 4-7 Eastern time, with Eddie Johnson and myself. It is. That's how I got to sign off. I believe this is our buddy Tubbs. Tell me if that's correct. Who's Harsh Santiago 8434. That's got to be my sign off if I'm doing the late night shows. It's gummy time. The gummies help Termine fall asleep. Termine never participated in anything like that in college. Doesn't do anything illegal. He no longer drinks, but he does do the gummies. They help him put him to sleep. So that's my sign off from here on out. It's time for the gummies. Enjoy your night, everybody.